Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? Thank you for joining. Look at this. You're already here. Wow, Robin Veal. Thank you so much, Robin. How are you doing? Let me know if you can hear me because I'm starting with this new microphone. So hello. Can you hear me? Please let me know. Empress Vibes. Hello. Look at this. This is fabulous. Nixon Ophiuchus. Did I say that right? Isn't that the 13th zodiac sign? Dang, I love this face. It has been a minute since I've been on during a live. It's on tonight, y'all. Peace and much love. Yes, peace and much love. Bird on a tree. Oh, how are you? Bird on a tree. Welcome, welcome. This is great. Girl Code will be here shortly. Kathleen, hello. Oh, my beautiful Harlem. Harlem Sentinels here. Yes, indeed. Carrie. Oh, Carrie. So nice to see you. And Greg, look at this. This is awesome. Every time we get together. Okay, so Bird on a Tree says very clear, vital energy at this moment. Also calm but strong. Oh, great. Oh, my. Fabulous. Lisa. Hello, Lisa. Oh, this is great. Sandra, thank you. I have this new microphone, I'm trying to be like podcasty. So it is new for me. Okay. So I'm getting used to it. Mustang girl. Hello, hello, hello. Layla. I love singing, right? Not that I can, but I'll just do it anyway. Twyla, that's my Utah sis. And we have Kim Canadian. Hello. This is great. If I've missed you, please forgive me. I may not have seen you, but you could always say hi again. Okay, so let's see. Sandy, I missed you, Sandy, in Texas. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, thank you. And if you're joining me on Facebook, thank you so much. And on Twitch, because I have it streaming to Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube. Okay. So this is great. I've been missing you too, Carrie. I have. Texas Dad. Hello. Don't mess with Texas, right? Don't do it. Tamara. Hello. It has been a long time. Forgive me, family. So it's not like this is going to be a really easy kind of topic, but I want to do a retrospective because I see some similarities. Sometimes, I do my connecting, and you know how Sister Girl Code is. She can really put that extra decode on things. And I think it's interesting, I use that word too much. Annette, hello. Nettie's journey from, oh, I love it. Yeah, thank you for letting me know who you are on the other platforms. I get that, sometimes we have to change names across the platforms. Hello, Nettie's journey. Annette. This is great. Linda, hello. Yes. So today I want to talk about a heavier subject, but I know we can handle it, right, Juan? Hello, Juan. Thank you for joining me, good brother. So I graduated from nursing school back in the early 90s, but I worked as a nurse, you could say, probably through the mid to rest of the 80s. Okay. And I don't mind dating myself, but I got to see, as many of you, the onset of the whole AIDS. They called it an epidemic then. They didn't have that term pan. And I'm going to do the typical, what do you call it? Like the pantomime, the charade, so we can bypass the the Googlers. But what I may do, it just depends on how deep we go into this. I may just rip this down right away, and I'll put it right up on my alt tech. And I can already tell there, the stream is kind of interrupting. Are you having any problems with the connection? It may be on my end. Hey, June, how are you? Thank you for being here. Yeah, well, I think I probably will rip it down, and I'll have it on the alt tech, and I'll let you know which alt tech. I'll keep it on Facebook. If you've sent me Facebook requests, and I just know that eventually I will start, people are dropping off of my Facebook list daily because, people, they get offended and they unfriend you. So I get chances to, put more people on the list right away, and especially people that are like-minded, which I appreciate, because if people are easily offended, it's no need, right? I'm not trying to do any changing of hard and kind of set in stone kind of thoughts. But I know a lot of times we can be in an echo chamber, but if anybody has that, I don't know, that kind of free thinking, that they don't mind watching or reading alternative opinions, then, that's great. But just know that, Facebook puts a limit on your, the people you put on your list, but I will work with you. Trust me, I piss people off every day. Hello, Sally. Hello, great to catch up with y'all. Oh, this is good. Yeah, we love having this engagement. I love the live streams. They're great. I've been trying the podcasting. I'm doing some different things. So, just working on other means to create content. So I've been working on some of those things. I'll tell you more about it as it unfolds. Hey there, Bernadette, how are you? Thanks for joining today. And Michelle, look at you. Hey, Michelle, nice to see you as well. I appreciate that. Timothy, hey. Oh, this is great. It's nice to see all of these names that I haven't seen in a while. Matthew, hi. I'm Hesus on the other platforms, and healthcare also great, trying to make healthcare great again. Thank you for standing up for the truth. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's good to, be acknowledged by other healthcare professionals, because, sometimes we alienate ourselves when we take a stand. Hello, Paula. And that's happened, nurses that I was really close with. I thought, as soon as I started speaking out last year, they couldn't take it. They they unfriended me. They don't ask me to sit with them. You can't sit with us, Jennifer, because you don't think like us. So that's okay. I'll sit with you. My new friends. Francis, I am like you, Jen. RN for many years, not working as last year. It's a disgrace what the healthcare. Yes, it is a disgrace. And let's talk about that, because, it's time for many healthcare people to really take a stand. I would say last year, we were figuring things out, but now it should be pretty clear that something is amiss. And to continue in this thing, I'll use different words. I won't say a lot of obvious words. You already know, you watch a lot of content creators and they do so much to avoid the words. But, basically, what are you going to do? I mean, it's a decision that everybody has to make, and they come to it in their own way. But it is a heavy decision to make, and I would encourage anybody. I wouldn't want to discourage them, but I would like them to know this is a serious thing. I mean, we've seen things in the past, and sometimes history has to repeat. And unfortunately, to continue in these ways, I'll say, it's going to have some reverberation, right? So it's important to take a stand on the truth and not be afraid. That's the whole thing. Like they make everybody fear, and fear is a very bad frequency, right? Hey, Sharion, where the hell have you been? I like when people just, where the hell have you been? I've been here, Sharion. I'm here. Oh, the Money Honey's here, everybody. Hi, the Money Honey. She's saying hi to everybody. This is wonderful. Thank you for joining. Sandra says you left healthcare after CVS took over your company and shoved all the BS. Yeah, it's just so many things going on, like so much unrest. So before Girl Code joins, I wanted to just let you know my background. I don't know if I've told a lot of you about my nursing professional experience. Like it's like a job interview, okay? But among friends. My resume, or whatever you want to call it, I graduated from Temple University in 1991. So I got a baccalaureate in nursing, and it was a really tough program. And my nursing experience in school was right in inner city Philadelphia. If anybody is from Philadelphia, you know that Temple University is located right in North Philadelphia, very urban. And, you know, as I parked my car to go to classes, I would have to step over syringes and crack vials and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm kind of like that Cosby Kid type of person. And it was like, whoa. I mean, the crack epidemic was in full tilt. And then you had the convergence of the AIDS epidemic. So it was a really heavy time to learn in that environment. So I've pretty much been a nurse for a very long time. I would say I count the times that I was a small child. I helped to take care of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. She was injured by she was injured, and she suffered very much in her life. She was a vibrant woman, so I didn't get a chance to see her as a vibrant woman in, you know, live. I got to see pictures of her, but by the time I came along, she was already injured so she suffered with a lot of ailments that broke down her body. She was crippled. She had polio from taking the polio thing. So I call it this, but it was really a sugar tablet, as you probably heard. So she was, you know, doing what she thought was right. And, you know, the peer pressure and things like that, you know, a lot of people were encouraging other people to do it. And she didn't have a lot of information. She trusted, you know, she went to the University of Pennsylvania, to the physicians that were in practice through the University of Pennsylvania system in West Philadelphia. And she suffered, and, you know, her heart eventually gave out, and she had lots of wounds and things like that. She took a lot of medication, and you know how it is when people take like prednisone and things like that, when they're on really high doses, their personality changes. So for all the healthcare professionals, I know you'll understand this. And for people that may take things like prednisone, I know that you have experienced like personality changes and a lot of, you know, weight fluctuations and things like that. It's a very hard medication to be on long term, and it does do a lot of damage to your heart. So she had a lot of problems. She even developed diabetes because of, you know, just all of the medications they would pile on her. One of the things that University of Pennsylvania didn't do is they didn't take any responsibility for having given this stuff out in, you know, mass administration. So my family never followed up like legally with it. Not sure what could have been done legally, but, you know, that's now water under the bridge, as they say. But it doesn't stop me from talking about it. In fact, 7 years ago, I was making YouTube videos. I had like 2 people watching, but that wasn't the point. I was doing it to make, like, just to become a better speaker, because I've worked in corporate America and sometimes you have to give presentations. And so at the time I was a part of this company that they were teaching people how to blog. And so I heard this suggestion to make a video a day for like 30 days and talk about anything. So I would just talk about different things. I would rant about high fructose corn syrup. You know me, I would just like I'd turn my phone on and just start ranting. So one of these videos that I did, I was ranting about mandatory for nurses. And I had my nursing cap. I put aluminum foil on it. You know me, I gotta have my props and everything. So I just talked about my grandmother, and I was just talking from my heart. I had no idea. It was just something I did every day, you know, and this video happened to go viral. I had no idea. All of a sudden, out of the blue, I started getting all these messages. You know, people are blowing up my phone. They're blowing up my Facebook feed. And they're like, I saw you on Alex Jones, Jennifer. I was like, no, I haven't been on Alex Jones. I was like, what's going on? Are they trolling me? But no, it was the health ranger. He actually took my video and he put it on Alex Jones's like platform. And they did a whole like article based on everything that I was saying. It was really weird. Nobody even checked with me. It was just done. So I was also, the video was being shared on many groups. Like there were some nursing groups on Facebook that have been deplatformed by now rather. And the video was on several pages, groups, and people were emailing me. And at the time, if you remember about 8 years ago, you could message people on YouTube. Do you all remember that, when you could message people? Well, I got a message from Robert Kennedy Jr. and he encouraged me like to keep going. He was like, keep fighting. And it was just amazing that he would take the time to, just encourage me. And you all know all the work that he's doing in that area. Girl Code is here, by the way, everybody. Let us put our sister on. Girl Code.
Hi.
Hey, sis. How are you? Can you wait a minute? What happened? Girl Code was here. I know you saw her. You said, I love it, right? So Girl Code will probably come right back, I hope. It looks like she might be in the car, so it may be a issue with reception. So we're going to have her log back on. I wish I had your strength. You caved. Oh, Adam, we have to hold each other up. I know it's hard. There she is. She's back. I love you, Adam. We're strong together. There she is.
Hi, sis.
There you are. Hello, sis.
How are you?
How are you? I am well. Look at this, everybody.
I
Our
was
beautiful
listening
sister.
to you.
You can hear it, huh?
I could hear it. I was like,
good. Look at that.
nosy in the chat and everything. That's why as soon as you said Girl Code here, I'm like, oh, let me get back in my position. So I try to get back in position, and you know me, I ended up hanging up.
Oh no, look at that, our Harlem Sentinel saying hello. Look at
Hi, you're so sweet, sis. Somebody in the chat goes, well, Jen, is there anything that you haven't done? I love your stories.
You know what? I have to tell you, and let me speak to you all. I know that my life has been just crazy, okay? And sometimes you don't know why you've lived a certain kind of life. I'm not weary at all, but I had to go this path. Like many of you have had unique paths. I've done a lot of stuff. I should be tired, right? But I'm not. I'm so energized. And somebody, I think it was you, sis, you told me it was maybe my Harlem Sentinel. Like, I think it was her. You had to do a lot of things like in life for some reason. Some people do, like, you try to fit in so many things. Like, you feel like you have a little bit of time to do certain things, or I don't feel like I have a little bit of time, but a lot of different things, and I still want to do a lot more. Some people think that's crazy, but I just want to learn. I came here with that wiring that I just want to learn. I want to learn, and I want to experience this world, you know, in this earth suit, right? So you look beautiful, sissy. Look at you.
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. If you say so, you do. You're glowing as always.
Thank you. Well, you
Welcome.
know, you wanna address the our chatmosphere before I start. I have a slideshow, everybody. I know it's been a little while since we've done a slideshow, but for this particular subject matter, it's a retrospective. And sis, I told them that I'm going to end up taking this down because I don't want to play around with the Googlers, because this is an important subject. So I would say I'm going to ask you all, I don't ask you all to do this, but share and subscribe to both me and Girl Code channels, so that and engage with us. I love the chatmosphere, but also what I'm learning is it helps when you do comments underneath the video as well. So please, if you have any, you know, feedback, experiences, share it in our comments below as well. Okay. So sis, do you want to start off?
Well, I just wanted to say thank you for having me. I wanted to say hello to everyone in the chatmosphere, as Jen would say. And I'm looking forward to this subject. This subject is something that's near and dear to my heart. And let's see. Also, I spoke to a few patriots this past week, and the experience was, I don't know, it was out of this world. You know, you kind of forget, you know, that people have so many great ideas and people have so many amazing stories that they would like to share. And I know that we can only share so much. I know myself, like when I'm on a great YouTuber's channel, I feel like the broadcast always ends much sooner than I'm ready for it to end. So it's like, no, don't go, you know? So, but with that being said, Jen and I have been led to share some time with you guys outside of, you know, the videos and everything. So if you guys want to talk with Jen and I personally, we're going to leave. Hello. Uh-oh, looks like I'm in a bad place. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Oh, now. Oh, she dropped. Oh no. She'll be back on. It's just issues of connectivity. So let me start the slideshow until our sis comes back, okay? So where was the slideshow? Oh no, I'm not stopping the screen. You know me, and I have to get back to my getting used to the stream. Okay, so I just titled this simply My Nursing Experience During the AIDS Epidemic. Here she is. She's back. You back, sis? Hey there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you are. I can hear you. Everybody else, can you hear her?
Okay.
You are.
So
you
things
are
okay?
Yep.
You know what, sis? I'm on a bad street. I'm almost through this street. Sorry, guys.
Okay, it's like a little, you know, in your town, it's like a section. Like when I lived in LA, whenever I would go see friends, like near, you know, over there near.
Here I come interrupting the broadcast, right? So I'm almost at the top of this street. This street has really horrible reception. Okay, here we.
Oops. She's going to turn and get to a better. Oh, no, she's gone again. It's like I said, when I lived in LA, when I would go see my friends in Baldwin Hills, like, you know how you go through, where's that, like Slauson or whatever, and you go through wherever they have the oil drills. I always lost connectivity right there. It was just, it's a bad place. So let's see. Okay. So I like I said, I titled this My Nursing Experience During the AIDS Epidemic. And again, I was in that AIDS epidemic like full blast. And I'll tell you that I entered nursing in the early 90s. And at the time, this is when a patient would literally be admitted on a Monday, and they were not like looking like they were going to die any minute, but by Friday, they were at death's door. So I watched people, it was mainly men in the prime of their life, because I worked in Atlanta at Emory University, Crawford Long Hospital. So I worked on an AIDS, it was an unofficial AIDS unit, because a lot, like very similar to what we're dealing with right now, the nurses were too afraid to touch the patients, okay? They were so afraid of them. And it was so sad because, you know, I'm all about the humanity of people. And I know a lot of you are as well. I was not afraid of them. And it's very similar to this current issue we're dealing with. When I went up to New York, or when I was called to go onto the cocoa floor, I didn't fight it. A lot of my fellow nurses, they were afraid to go over to take care of these patients last year. They gave a lot of excuses, and they didn't want to, you know, they didn't want to do anything in terms of going over. And, you know, basically we all had to take turns. So people that were at the top of the list, they would find excuses not to go over. And then it came to me, and it was like, okay, Jennifer, I was a travel nurse, you know, so the travel nurse always has to do everything that they don't want to do, because they resent you, because they feel like, oh, you're making so much money, so you go and work for every penny, kind of thing. So basically, I was the one that had to go over first. And I wasn't afraid. I just wanted to know, listen, give me all the stuff, that all the PPE, tell me the protocols and all that. But I went over and I wasn't scared. That's, I'm crazy. I just wasn't scared. And it was the same as back in the 90s. I wasn't scared of the AIDS patients. So the nurses that weren't afraid of the AIDS patients, all of the they call them infectious disease physicians. So that's their specialty. ID. So all of the ID physicians, they would put their patients on our floor. And it wasn't, like I said, an official AIDS unit, but that's how we were referred to by other nurses. We're in the AIDS unit. So that was okay. And basically, I would touch the patients with my bare hands, okay? And this is at a time when they weren't really crazy about, oh, you got to put gloves on it for everything. It wasn't like that back then. I mean, we put gloves on, but we washed our hands a lot with soap and water. It wasn't all that toxic, you know, I don't like the Purells and all that stuff. I always wash my hands with hot water and soap. And I got in trouble for doing that last year. You know, one of my nursing managers, she's like, they were basically able to monitor if you use the Purell that was either in the room or outside of the room. This is how much nurses are controlled, okay? They can tell when you use the Purell. And so one of them came over to me at one point and said, hey, we see you're not washing your hands. And I'm like, how do you know this? I wash my hands with soap and water, okay? Right. So I always pick a sink in an empty room, and I wash my hands. I make sure I have a fresh thing of soap, and that's my soap, and that's what I wash my hands with. So they just want to control everything about you. But not to belabor that, we were the nurses not afraid to touch these people. These are human beings, and they needed touched. So, you know, it's like I'm circling back in a sense, because I'm seeing a lot of similar things, you know, and dehumanization and the politicizing of disease. So, you know, we had a lot of famous people that were diagnosed, and for some reason it's the same thing, it had to be shared. And if you remember all the very famous names that suddenly, were coming forth as being positive, HIV positive, and then full-blown AIDS, you heard terms like that, right, sis? You remember that?
I do. I absolutely do. I studied this when I was a young teenager, when it was the taboo subject, but I do recall all of the famous people who were on the propaganda bandwagon. I do.
Right, right. It was very taboo, as you know, and it was a lot of shaming, and, also not adhering to patient privacy. That was, they talked out of both sides of their mouth. I noticed, like, when a patient was admitted, sis and chat,
Right.
they would admit them with a diagnosis that was very generic. They would say fever of
Pneumonia.
unknown origin. Does anybody remember
Okay.
that diagnosis? Fever of unknown origin. That's what
Isn't
they
that
gave a
something?
lot of HIV positive patients.
I
So it's
remember a lot of pneumonia diagnoses as well.
yes,
You?
exactly. Pneumonia, Kaposi sarcoma, and
Yes.
that was the skin cancer that you would see. It started
From
with,
the
like,
medication.
yes, and it was like the blotching all over. It would be all over their nose. I mean,
Yes.
the bodies
Everywhere.
would be ravaged, okay? And
I remember that.
we
Yeah.
remember the famous tennis player, Arthur Ashe. He came forward and he
I'm ready to choke
disclosed
the fuck out of
that
somebody.
he was HIV or full-blown AIDS. So we saw him, very frail
Yes.
when he did press conferences, remember? And
I remember that.
I'm just looking at a lot of the similarities. And now I'm bringing this slide to your attention because, as you can see on this church bulletin, this was, like, said by many people. They believe that this was a curse. And, now that we look back at the origins and things like that, and now, you see religion interwoven and the judgment, it was just, really hard to navigate this. A lot of homosexual men would, be admitted. And I took care of men that had amazing careers. Like, they were in the fashion industry, they were architects, they were so successful. And they were in the, like I said, like 30s, 20s, 40s. And it was just heartbreaking, sis. Really,
Yes,
really.
it was. Yes, it was. I mean, it was amazing how many people in the 80s that, I was close to, or I had family members that, succumbed to this particular, disease. And, nothing new was under the sun. I mean, they claimed that they were falling victim to this disease because people weren't coming in, they weren't being tested, they weren't, adhering to medications. And it's the same thing today. You go into these hospitals and they're figuring out what's the newest diagnosis that they're going to lay upon the generations, okay, to depopulate us. And because we live in these urban cities, society was just, they had no sort of empathy for what we went through. The children of the, AIDS victims, and this disease was man-made, and it was something that you didn't have. It was just something that they were able to, control your mind and have you believe that you had this particular disease. And it was absolutely awful. All of the great people, as you said, that I knew that had passed away from this disease. Absolutely amazing that they are still able to get away with this. I'm not sure. Let's go. Recently, give me a second, Tana, okay? We're going. Recently, they said that some AIDS epidemic has swept, I want to say, West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard about that? And they had like 17,000 people in 3 communities that were diagnosed with AIDS during this particular pandemic.
Oh,
Okay.
really? Oh, no, I
Yeah.
hadn't heard about that. I mean, I've heard of, like, you know how they call them a rash or a cluster? I mean, you've heard of, like, there was some dude, like, I think he was in the southern states, and he was just basically giving women the HIV. Like, he was just sleeping with so many women and just giving them the HIV. So it was a lot of women that were in the sex industry. So you may have heard of, I haven't heard too much. Like, I've
Wow.
been nursing up to last year, you know,
Yeah.
and I
Mhm.
really stopped seeing AIDS patients. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been for years. Like,
Yeah.
you
If
see them.
if I may, I just wanted to interject really quick, sis. If I may, I just want to say that
Yes, yes.
it's impossible to give women, this AIDS, or they have these little, what we call ratchet little, women on these social media channels who claim to give men, this
Mm-hmm,
disease. It's
mm-hmm,
impossible to give someone something that you don't have. Okay, so if we can think of this as the C19 just for a moment, okay?
mm-hmm.
Because remember, we have the same little weasel, Fraudzy,
Yep,
okay, who
yep.
was in the lab cooking up this particular concoction,
Mm-hmm.
okay? So
Yes.
think about it. How could someone else give you the C19 if they never even had it to begin with? The same way I could never give you the HIV because I never had it to begin with. It's all a mental state. So if you get me to believe that I have it, then I can get you to believe that I gave it to you, or someone else can get you to break up your families, break up your relationships, okay? Because you'll say, wow,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a homosexual. I haven't had, any IV drug users around me, or I'm not using IV drugs. So then, well, my
Mm-hmm.
boyfriend had to give it to me. My girlfriend had to give
Mm-hmm.
it to me. It was a way to just, as you said, ravage the whole entire planet, right? And get you to
Mm-hmm.
break apart families, break apart your relationships. Everyone was blaming everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
I know at the time when my mother had passed away from this particular disease, it caused such a ripple in our family. Okay. It was
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable how everyone, and my little sister passed away from this as well. So I don't
Wow.
know how many people are, aware of that, but she
Mm-hmm.
was diagnosed when she was pregnant, okay? And it was something that had broken up her and my dad, right? It broke
Mm-hmm.
her and my dad up.
Right.
And, at this time, she was late in her pregnancy. So a lot of my
Mm-hmm.
family members were like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that, she could be that selfish to bring a baby into the world, knowing that this had happened, or, and she didn't know, but
Right.
they
Right.
got her to believe that her baby was affected by this disease, right?
Right.
Took the
Oh, Lord.
baby out, took her out, and supposedly my dad, who is still alive to this day, was the one who gave it to her. He, hi, how are you? He is the one who said, you know what? Because my mother's name was Terry. They called her Little Terry. She was Teresa, Mother Teresa. And they
Oh.
said, and she said to, he said to her, he says, listen, that medication is really making me sick. I don't think you should take it. She was
Mm.
really scared to part ways with this medication that the doctors had her believing was actually going to save her life. Now, here you have a young, vibrant nurse who is seemingly very healthy. Nothing wrong with her. Okay. Okay,
Mhm.
pick out whatever you want, baby. Sorry. And she's fine. She's perfect. Okay. So
Mhm.
that brought a lot of turmoil between her and my dad, right?
Mhm.
My
Mhm.
dad went on to have many children after that. He's
Mhm.
alive. He's healthier than an ox. He looks,
Mhm.
as young as any 21-year-old running
Right.
around here today. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
this is supposedly the same gentleman who took her out with it. It's
Wow.
all mind control, and that's why
Wow.
we got to get a grip on the medical industry, in a whole, because none of these things exist, not any of them. But if I told you cancer doesn't exist, you would say to me, what are you talking about? Cancer doesn't exist. I have many people in my family who passed away from that. If I say diabetes doesn't exist, you'll say, what are you talking about? My grandmother doesn't have legs because of that. So when they torment you and they take your life and they injure you fatally, it makes it all the more real. And then you can't talk about it with people. The people that I had in my community that lost loved ones from this disease, I couldn't talk about it with them because everybody lied about it.
Yeah.
My friends that lost their parents and their older siblings, it was, oh, my mother died from an asthma attack. They would lie about it. I was the
Right.
only one in the community that knew
Wow.
something wasn't right. And I wanted to bring it to the table. But who could I bring it to the table with and
Right.
talk to about it? No
Right.
one but my sister here 27 years later.
Look at that. I'm so glad. Listen, everybody, I don't know if you knew that testimony about our dear sister. This really hits close to home, as you hear. So she has firsthand understanding of how this affected her family, and she had to grapple with what's real and what is not real, because as she says, and I know you all can resonate with this, when you enter into healthcare, the system, and they give you a diagnosis, you have to consent to this, okay? Now, I'm not going to say that you're not really having any physical ailments, okay? And we could get into ailments and things like that at another time and talk about what is really an ailment, what is illness, what is dis-ease, the energetic frequency, and really get onto the whole aspect of it aside from the physical, okay? But when you adhere to what these medical professionals tell you, you begin to manifest what they're telling you have. And look at this continuum of care, sis. It says that the series of steps a person with HIV takes from initial diagnosis through their successful treatment with HIV medicine. So basically, they want to wrangle people into the healthcare system, give them the diagnosis. Can we trust the test? Is the test accurate? So
No,
once
it is
you get
not.
the diagnosis, then you're linked to a physician, and then you're engaged in pharmaceuticals. So now what they've done is they've given people cocktails. I remember all of the steps. Like, we had the emergency use, we had the experimental things that they were giving people, the cocktails, and they would basically tell people, you'll be on this for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And I never liked that. I never told my patients they were going to be on a pharmaceutical for the rest of their lives. I would never pronounce that over someone's life.
Do you see the high level sorcery involved in medicine? Okay, it's bigger than just the pharmacy, as you said, but it has a lot to do with the pronouncing of those actual diagnoses. Once you accept that diagnosis like a package, it's yours after that. No one can get you to believe that that isn't yours because some man or some woman in a white cloak gave it to you and you took it. Okay? So we need to rethink diagnoses. We need to rethink mammograms. We need to rethink, and this is the reason why they police this subject so much, because, they don't want us to misinform you. So that way they can continue to, do away with the peasants. They can continue to depopulate us. None of these things exist. None of these things exist. And I'm not saying this because I'm wishful thinking. I'm saying this because God created us more than perfect. Okay? So as sis said, anything that goes wrong with you, 9 times out of 10, you may need to switch up your diet. You may need to drink a little bit more water. You may need to eat a little bit more less acidy foods or acidic foods, because that's not a word, but you know what I mean. It has a lot to
Right.
do with diet. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, our God that we serve is a great and perfect God, and He doesn't
Amen.
create imperfections and diseases. These things are man made. They want us to believe that our bodies, somehow, is confused in the inside and kicking out these sort of diseases, and they're doing their best. Here I come to save the day. They're coming as our
Right.
firefighters and our heroes. Again,
Mm-hmm.
order out of
Mm-hmm.
chaos. Okay,
There you
it's
are.
in every aspect of everything that we touch, everything that we do, everything that we know is order out of chaos. This is why this globe needs to be rid of these freaking peasants. They're awful. None of it exists. And I'm really happy that Jen is touching on this subject today, because I tell people all the time about it. I've always been very open. My life is an open book when it comes to the things that I've been through, like, because I just feel like everything is a testimony. I've
Mm-hmm.
never been ashamed of it. I've never been one of those people to be ashamed. And
Thank
even
God.
back then, I remember when I would say that, or some people probably knew, they were talking to whispers. Did you hear about her mother? Because my mother was young and beautiful. So it was like, it was the whisper. I mean, she was the youngest in her family. When my mother passed away, guys, it was
Mhm.
on Halloween. And I know it was a ritual. She was perfect. She was
Wow.
perfect the night before. She didn't
Really?
even have an IV hooked up to her. Okay. She was
Mm-hmm.
perfect. When I got home from night school and it
Mm-hmm.
was on Halloween,
Mm-hmm.
1994, October 31st. It was not before Halloween, and you guys can Google my mom's name. It wasn't that I recall it being Halloween because of the decorations. It was the night of Halloween that
Oh,
they
wow.
took my mother out, and I knew that it was murder. I just saw her the night before.
Wow.
I just saw
Wow.
her. She was perfectly fine, but I could tell. You like Halloween? Okay, great job. We'll go trick or treating. I could tell that they had gotten to her that night.
Mm-hmm.
That the last time I saw her, because she was asking for me to take the pictures and stuff that she
Mm-hmm.
had in her pocketbook. She didn't want to be reminded of my oldest son's birthday, because I had came up there and showed
Mm-hmm.
her like all the little photos and stuff from my oldest son's birthday that he had
Right.
October 17th. And it was as if someone was telling her in that hospital, trying to mentally prepare her for death. And this has a lot to do with
Wow.
why they did not want us around our grandparents. Or it doesn't even have to be grandparents. A lot of people in these assisted living facilities, it's a
Mm-hmm.
misconception to believe that they are all geriatric patients, because they're not. A
Mm-hmm.
lot
They're
of them
not.
just don't have, family that has the
Right.
time for them, or whatever the
Right.
case may be, right? But they
Mm-hmm.
want to get you
Mm-hmm.
by yourself so that they can
Yes.
murder you, because this is what these
Yes.
nurses do. And you guys know it. You know when they
Yes.
take your temperature and they grab your arm, you know everything about their eyes, that they're evil fucking bitches. Excuse my language.
No,
And
I don't
you
mind
can
at all.
tell when they draw your blood. You can tell when they touch on your children. You can
Yes.
feel the severe coldness that radiates from these people, or these things that are parading as people.
That's right. Amen. Now, you know what, sis? That is a word right there. And I want to let you all know, and any healthcare professionals, any nurses or physicians out there, I want you, if you are listening to us, to go back. If you've been in healthcare as long as I have been, 33 years, the thing
Right.
about this is when I was on the AIDS unit, okay, at Crawford Long Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia,
Mm-hmm.
basically, when the patient got to a certain point in their AIDS diagnosis, they would put them on a morphine drip. Do you all know what a morphine drip is? When you titrate that morphine drip up, that is euthanasia. Okay. And I am not going to mince my words about that for anybody who would get offended because you work in hospice, which the hospice movement, I believe is euthanasia. I'm not going to be,
Absolutely.
listen, I'm not going to be popular. I'm not trying to be popular. I want to tell the truth. Now, I studied euthanasia or the hospice unit movement when I was in nursing school, and they portrayed it as this dignified way to help people die.
That's
But
right, sis.
basically, what I had noticed, and I used to try to tell people, especially in my church at the time, I would warn them about hospice. Once you start hospice, you can start the countdown, right? They pretty much know the days that the person will die because they are cutting off water, hydration, and food. Okay?
Yep.
So what do you think that's going to do? And if you put them on a morphine drip and you're titrating it, you are killing human beings. And I'm not going to mince my words, okay?
You're
I'm
damn
not
right.
sorry. We
Yeah.
nurses have been killing people and not aware. Some of us not aware of it.
Some of them,
So
yeah, some of them.
we have to come to an honest place. I had to ask the Lord to forgive me because I followed the orders of the doctors.
That's right, and that's what they do out here. That's what they
Okay?
do out here. Yeah, wonder why. That's
Okay.
right.
Somebody
That's
is asking, what is titrating? Okay, titrating is when you are put on, okay, I'm using morphine. You're titrated up. Morphine is going to suppress your respiratory center, and that is basically going to end the life. So it just means you're increasing that medication. So that's what titrating is, okay? Let's see. Joyce says some of the hospice places starve the people to death. Let's start telling the truth. Thank you, Joyce. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And yes, the truth needs to be known. So if you are out there and you are considering hospice for your loved one, I would just recommend that you be an advocate for your loved one and you really learn what is the hospice movement, who started it. You can go and study the woman who started the hospice movement. And I've talked to nurses, okay, that I've worked with. There was one nurse, he was a manager when I worked at Grady in Atlanta. And basically he read this book that he wanted to share with me. And it was, sis, you know what it was? It was basically a book about how some people are not valuable in our world and they do need to be assisted out of the world, basically. So it's a book that changes the mindset of a healthcare professional into a savage, okay? Where they are looking at playing God with someone's life, okay? So there are books out there that nurses are reading. And these are nurses that are going for advanced degrees. You know those kind? And they're learning this stuff. So, you know, I could go on, I know, and I could rant, but I just, you know, I want to bring like this slide right here says,
oh, I'm sorry, the mic was muted. I'm sorry. That's awful.
No worries.
Absolutely awful. You know what? It's absolutely awful.
Absolutely.
What has been happening with these nurses. I gotta say that thanks to you, sis, I do realize that a lot of these nurses and doctors are seemingly unaware of, you know, what they're doing. They really truly do believe that, you know, they're helping out the world or they're helping out children. Okay. Like you even have doctors who are not seeing children who are not vaccinated anymore. Okay. Because they're too healthy. That's not a good patient for them. Okay. But I noticed that with the doctors that and the nurses that I know or that I would go see, you know, I have a lot of nurses in my family. Well, not a lot, but two is a lot because sometimes people don't have a nurse for generations, right? So, but I noticed with them that they really do believe in what they've been practicing. And even with, and they've got every corner of this thing covered because even with diagnoses, if you so happen to be smart enough to don't believe in a diagnosis that they give you, they will
Mhm.
show videos and give your family pamphlets to convince
Yes,
you that
they
you
will.
need to take this chemo or this radiation, or what they had said or set
They
for
sure
you
will.
is actually good for you. So when you go home from the hospital, you'll get the badgering at home from the friends, from the family. You know
Yes.
what, Jen? I really think you need to think about this. This
Yep.
is going to be the best course for you. This is what they do.
That's right. They sure
Mhm.
do, everybody. They will have family meetings. Everybody's on the same page. You have the social worker, you'll have the nurse discharge, you'll have everybody, like she's saying, they are working on your loved ones, and they are rooting out that advocate too, because they know there is an advocate. And I hope you all advocate for your loved ones. I can't imagine what it's like right now for you all. If you have any loved ones that are, interfacing with the healthcare system, and they're trying to tell you you can't be in the same room, because let me tell you, nobody is going to stop me. Nobody.
Absolutely.
You hear me?
Absolutely.
Absolutely
And
nobody. And
absolutely.
you have to have that attitude. Now, I'm showing some of, now since you look at these slides right here, I showed the ones before, and it's all about fear. This is fear porn. And you can see how they had to, like, it was so many narratives going on. People were afraid to use the same silverware. They were putting their loved ones out of the home because they felt like, I can't share like a plate with my loved one, my son. A lot of parents put their children out of the home because they were afraid to use the same silverware. So
Unbelievable.
you have this right here. It says you won't get AIDS in a restaurant, or AIDS is a
Unbelievable.
white man's disease. That's how they started this thing. If you remember the book called "And the Band Played On," this was the beginning of the
No,
psyop
get some
of the
different ones.
propaganda,
Mm-hmm.
that it was white men. Patient zero, it was some dude up in Canada, and he was this really handsome flight attendant. Do you all remember the narrative? So he was popping from coast to coast, going to the bathhouses in San Francisco. Then he would go to the bathhouses in New York, and they blamed the epidemic spreading on him. They called him Patient Zero. Who remembers that? And the band played on. Who remembers that? So they started it right there. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I also, when I was in college, I mean, the AIDS epidemic, we know it started, like, if anybody can tell me the year in the 80s when Patient Zero, when they claimed that Patient Zero started it off, like kicked it off, and then he flew internationally. So they're like, he's taking AIDS all over the world, basically. So
Maybe 1984, 5,
was
6,
it 84? Everybody, let us know. It sounds right, sis. Now,
85-ish.
yeah, I was at Spelman College in Atlanta. Okay. So Atlanta is a hub, and let's not like act like Atlanta is known as a gay mecca. Okay. Not only a black mecca, but a homosexual mecca. So,
That part. That part. Tell that
okay,
truth. That part.
when I was in college, I worked at the Marriott Marquis. I worked at, the Peachtree Plaza and those places, right? So I worked with a lot of homosexual men, and they were my friends. Okay. My daughter calls me a fag hag because I have a lot of gay men that I love them. They love me. It's like, I love it. Okay.
Yeah,
So
me
my
too.
daughter,
I've had the gay husband before. It was like an accessory, and it was like on reality shows. I've always kept one.
love, okay? And they took me like their little sister, and I would go to their homes. One of them that I worked with, he would say, "Come over, girl, because I got some gowns for you." And I would go to their they would have these like beauty pageants. One was called the Miss Red Rose contest, and I would go to support them, and they would give me all these beautiful gowns that they only wore one time. They were so fabulous, right? So that was my thing at the time, okay? And I'm not doing this to try to justify anything. I'm just telling you what my life experience was at the time. And RuPaul, he wasn't always famous. I remember going to the same supermarket as RuPaul. Okay. I would go to this supermarket over in like Virginia Highlands, and it was a Kroger, and RuPaul was in there all the time. Okay. It was like nothing to see him. But I'm just saying that to say that it was at the time a lot of men, white men, that they started this sort of narrative in, and then it progressed to Black women, right? Now
Absolutely.
they claim that it's Black women. Okay.
Absolutely.
So
And may I want you to continue, sis, but as you said, the CDC, before I forget, they're going to practice in their backyard, and the CDC is located in Atlanta, Georgia.
There you are.
They are going to practice with those residents that are closest to them through the womb and through the doctors. Yes, so that's right. That's right. Lots of AIDS diagnoses coming out of the CDC's hometown area.
Isn't that interesting, everyone? You have the CDC here in Georgia. Then you have the Georgia Guidestones. Okay, so let's put on our tinfoil hats because it's okay. There's something there, But what I see is everything leads back to big pharma. Isn't that interesting? Big pharma. Look at this right here. The cocktails.
Yep, I see it.
They've turned AIDS into a chronic disease now. Have you noticed that? It's not the fear porn. It's now, this is what people live with, just like diabetes. They take all these drugs, and you got to take the right ones. And this is for the rest of their life. They've accepted. Whoever has accepted that, like my sister says, you're consenting to the diagnosis. There's power to that. Our consent. Think about it. It's really deep.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it really is. I mean, we cannot consent to these diagnoses that they want to give us. We just cannot do it. We think that their machines and their PR tests are correct. They're not. Even the creator of the PR testing said himself that all you do is take a particular cell and magnify it to the utmost power and say that there are, cells that are not matching up, or there's not enough white T cells over here, and you can create and make up whatever the fuck you want. Excuse my language. All we have to do is get that patient to believe in that particular diagnosis. Okay. Right. Just like right now. I mean, it's a little bit more prevalent now that we could see, what do you call it? The wizards now. We can see the wizards behind the curtain, but before you couldn't see them. And when they said, trust the science and trust the doctor, and we know what we're talking about, you was led to believe it a lot more back then. I never did though. I never did. That's all they needed to do was kill my mother and kill my sister. And I say that, and I've always said that all they needed to do was murder my family for me to figure out exactly what was going on. And I made it my point that they would never murder my children ever. And throughout my family, I love them to death. But we have a lot of small children that were born, with the homosexual, not tendencies, but they were born as little boys or little girls, the gender reversal and all of that. And I would always explain to my cousins that this was being done in the womb. This was being done out of certain hospitals and certain facilities, but no one believed me. But guess what? I just vowed to make sure that I would keep my boys as healthy as I possibly could. And so that's what I've done, because if it wasn't for what I went through, who knows? I might be, asleep at the wheel. I might be just as, prone to go along with the diagnoses in the medical industry, just like everyone else. I can't blame everyone else. Everyone else didn't lose a parent. They didn't lose a sister. They didn't have to suffer what I suffered. But I do thank God for my story, because if it hadn't been for my story, I wouldn't be as and I'm not paranoid. There's a difference between paranoia and there's a difference between alert and awareness.
That's right.
Okay.
Amen. Amen. I know you're not paranoid. Now look at this comment, sis. Empress Vibe says, funny how the C also jumped from Hollywood Tom Hanks, the Utah Jazz basketball team, to the African American community. Isn't that interesting, the jump? But isn't that interesting that Tom Hanks is factored in here as well? Because Tom Hanks is also involved in one of the most, I guess it was the most prolific movie dealing with this subject, which was Philadelphia, the movie, where he was a lawyer. You all know. Isn't that kind of interesting? Okay.
Yeah, it really is. All of this is not by, just a sheer coincidence. I always like to think that the COVID, I'm sorry, sis.
I'm going to take this down. Listen, I'm going to take it down, sis. Go,
okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
The C word. Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's for you guys. I do this for you guys. I would get on top of a mountain and tell my story because I feel like more people should know about it. So you're more than welcome. I thank you for listening to me. But I always think the C word was a way for them, just how sick they are, to take down as many more people as they possibly could while they were being, taken out, if you will, by the good old military there. It's like, you know what? Since we're being taken out, let's take out as many of them as we can too while we're at it. That's what I always thought about it.
Yeah. And it's also politicized because, as you can see this slide, the gay community initially was very active politically. They put a lot of pressure on the administration at the time. So we watched it start. Was it on Reagan's watch, or did it start on Bush Senior's watch? Let me know, everybody. But basically,
I want to say Bush Senior, but I could be
Bush
wrong.
Senior, maybe Bush Senior. But we had a lot of pressure put on the FDA to approve the medications because they were very slow with approving medications because, as you know, they have to go through years and years of clinical testing. So the people needed these things. And so they had groups like ACT UP, and they were out in the streets. Look at this. They were willing to get locked up. They had some doctors, if you all remember, there were some researchers that they broke camp with the official big pharma organization, and they knew something was wrong. These researchers left and they started doing research independently. And I heard they were doing research in their garage and all this stuff. And they went overseas. And you remember the Pan Am airplane that was blown up over Lockerbie, Scotland? They said, sis, that those researchers were on that plane. Okay.
Oh man, these dirty
researchers. Do you all remember the Lockerbie Pan Am explosion that happened? Look into it.
I will.
I heard this years ago that those researchers were on that plane. So I just want to say,
what an observation. That's
so
much
to this. And look at this. Doesn't this, it's like reminiscent of what we're dealing with. People out in the streets fighting for their rights, bringing their voice to this issue. Look at this. This is ACT UP. Do you all remember it?
Wow.
I just wanted to show this is a circle back retrospect because it's a lot of similarities, the same players, the same names.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And let's see, Marie. Hey, Marie, you said Jen, that is out now with okay, so you know about that Lockerbie, Scotland. Gotcha. Fabulous. Hey, Sharon. You just have to have your tinfoil hat. That's right. Keep that tinfoil hat on.
Hey, listen. I got the armor of God. You already know.
That's right. I haven't read that, Lori, but tell me more about that book. Does it deal with the subject matter at hand? And then look at this. You have
Serial killer.
Bush Senior, and all you heard about were condoms. Remember?
Yeah.
It's almost like the face diaper, right? Put on your face diaper. Put on your condom. They were giving condoms out at the nightclubs. They were giving them out,
and they were putting the disease on the condoms. You remember that Vatican official that came out telling about that too? Ooh. That they were putting the and then they started inserting it inside of the hepatitis vaccines that they were making employees get. So it was their way of just inserting it into the community after they had developed it, so that they could get the real readings, right?
Right. And look at this. Okay, you got W Senior, and they're saying 1 AIDS death every 12 minutes. Do you all believe that was a real figure? Is
Absolutely
this real? Not. Okay, like if you had 1 AIDS death every 12 minutes, who questioned this? This is the same stuff we're dealing with, everyone. Same players. Same players
doing the same thing, right?
Okay, and then they use the Hollywood people. You remember the group TLC, and Left Eye. She would have a condom over her left eye. Remember?
Right.
And they were pushing the condom agenda, right?
Yeah.
So. What do you think about this slide, sis, and everybody in the chatmosphere? Look at this.
Wow, I remember that. Easy E. Who is that? Magic Johnson. And who's that? Who's that third person?
That's Freddie Mercury from Queen.
Okay. Wow.
I mean,
it's unbelievable because
it's unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And even this whole recent this slide made me think about all of the Black gentlemen who were just recently passing away from the C-19. Remember, it was just like a whole line of them all of a sudden.
Yep. So the guy that played Black Panther, do you all remember the guy that played it? They claim he died from, I don't know, cancer, but it was just a lot of weird deaths.
Yeah.
Weird. But the Easy E death was extremely, like, your tinfoil hat had to be tingling because he died super fast. All of a sudden they say Easy E has HIV, then he's in the hospital, then he's dead. It was like, are you kidding? This was after they had developed all these cocktails. So it was like, what's really going on? And
the pretty girl,
Magic Johnson, you remember how everything came out about him, and he was on the constant news cycle.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they were trying to say he was engaged in orgies with all these basketball hoes, and he got it because he was promiscuous. And remember all that?
You can't go up that side. That's a big one. I'm sorry, sis.
No worries. But I don't know how you feel about Magic Johnson, and did he ever have it? What the heck?
No, I don't think he did. Do you?
I'm just saying, like, if he had something, a lot of people said that he went down to Mexico or somewhere. He may have been like healed from Dr. Sabi. Anybody, please tell me what you think is going on with Magic Johnson.
Interesting. I think that he was used, as a lot of these celebrities are used, as a ploy to get people. All right, come on. As a ploy to get people to believe that this was a real, disease. That's what I think. I think he was just one of those, you know, prominent faces of the time that could get people to believe that this thing really existed. But I think that he was aware that it really didn't exist. You know? That's what he gave me. He gave me the I'm on a propaganda train ride. That's what he gave me. Those vibes.
Right. Look at Karen says Magic Johnson was supposed to have a child for during his generation, but supposedly, oh yeah. And do you remember when Cookie got pregnant around the time that he was diagnosed with AIDS? But she had birth, normal birth, nothing happened to the baby because they were pushing, of course, to give mothers the certain cocktail to reverse the, to protect the child in the womb. Now I'm questioning everything because of your testimony, sis. I'm now going back into my recall of things, and I'm like, something is just not adding up. Something really is not. Juan said he never had it. Okay. Yep. There you go. So,
very weird. Very weird.
And then you have Africa, okay? Everything always winds up on the continent of Africa when they're pushing this stuff. Now they push the narrative that this is in epidemic proportions in Africa, okay? So look at how this is now about healthcare. And look at this, like they're targeting adolescents in Uganda. And the thing is they start a lot of NGO companies that go into Africa and they start pushing the jabs, pushing the medicines. And before you know it, you have outbreaks of these type of things. What do you all feel about AIDS?
Let me see some comments, sis. Let me see some comments. What do they think? What do you guys think about that? Absolutely.
Let's see comments. Empress says Magic became a multimillionaire after his diagnosis. Starbucks, Magic movie theaters, except there you go.
Gitmo. That's right.
Neither do I, Karen. He was just the face for it. So a lot of people, you all are not. They survive on our fear. There you are.
Yes, I love it.
Give in to the fear because that's what they live on. This is what, like you said, it's called loosh. There you are. Thank you, Julie. They harvest our fears called loosh.
Yeah, thank you, Julie.
Stop feeding them, starve them. Fear porn.
That's right.
Thank you. Fear porn.
Right. Yep.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
And this was, we saw these scenes, and this is heartbreaking. The people just wasting away, becoming just catechic and anorexic, and not able to keep anything down. And look at this. This is the imagery that they wanted.
Have you noticed that medication would kind of give them all that same look? It would do the same thing to them no matter what your nationality was. If you took that medication, if you married that diagnosis, it would give you that same look when you were nearing death.
Absolutely. I could look at people in public. I mean, that happens after a while, like nurses and doctors and different people that are around illness. We can smell illness. I can smell cancer in people. And I don't want to do that. I want to always turn it off. I'm not always trying to find out what's wrong with people, but sometimes you can't turn it off. But I could see the people who were supposedly HIV. It's a look. I can, like, the hair texture changes after they were taking AZT. Did you notice that?
Right.
Like
I did.
Have like kinky hair. Let's just
it gets really thin and fine.
It would come in like baby hair. Fine. Does anybody remember that when they would start on the AZT? It would change the hair texture.
It would. It's a good observation. Yes, it would. The
You have
eyes,
to
the eyes
observe
would
this.
become really big. They would
Yep.
get, the
Sunken
sockets
eyes,
would be sunken in. Yep.
sunken eye sockets, right? There you go.
And do you guys understand? That's why I always talk about archaeology, and the study of human beings, right? I always talk about that because
Right.
you have to understand. Okay,
Mhm.
okay. You're going. I always talk about that because a lot of it is them understanding that human beings cannot get these diseases. We cannot. They watch us heal ourselves. So this introduction of the medication and the acceptance of the diagnoses was a way for them to get us to marry these diseases because our body would naturally not get these things that their bodies would. When I say them, I mean the created beings, okay? The blue bloods, the
Right.
Rh negatives, okay? These are created beings and they were susceptible to diseases that us real human beings weren't susceptible to. So
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
it's really awful. You have to be giving someone something on an everyday basis. What better way to give you a disease by giving you medication that you're taking orally every day in the hopes of believing that you could stay living much longer. But isn't
Right.
that just so awful that witchcraft, that sorcery, that just that the
Mhm.
backwards inverted way of killing people, isn't that just a shame?
It is, and we have to expose this. And I'm also appealing to my fellow nurses. You have to make a stand right now. I know the money. They're throwing $275 an hour at travel nurses to go in certain areas. That is very tempting. I get it.
Sis, would you go out there again for 275 an hour?
I will not do it. I will not do it because right now I am so convinced of what's going on. I miss my bedside care. I miss it so much. I was called to be a medicine woman, but I cannot go into that system knowing what I know. I can't do it. I get recruited daily. I have my emails are full of recruiters trying to lure me
True
with
woman of
money.
God. You know what? And that's
I
what it's
can't do it.
about.
I can't
That's
do
what
it.
it's about. Just enjoying the world as we do. Like, I just want to show you guys something, right? Everybody in the chat, pay attention to this. Tanner and I are at the park in my neighborhood. When
Mm-hmm.
we came to the park in my particular corner, when we walked through the park, people migrated away from us. Now, when we came over here, there were lots of people in our section. Now, just take a look at where we're at. It is totally empty where
Oh
we
yeah.
are.
Oh,
Okay, you
right.
see this? This is
Mm-hmm.
this is
Oh,
how the park. This
Tanner.
is
Hey,
yeah.
Tanner.
This is the park where we are. It's totally
Nice.
empty. You
Empty.
come through, you give your warm
Oh,
smiles,
right.
and then people just they just kind of look at you like, like I said, there are two parallel worlds going on right now.
It really
Okay,
is.
so
It
you
really
you take
is.
that opportunity to be home. Like, I'm gonna drive my bus. I only drive the bus because I have to make a coin. But for the most part, we're gonna just enjoy the world as we can and notice the differences in what's going on. That has a lot to do with things that you would believe and things that you don't believe. If you're not separating yourself, they will separate themselves from you, and it's actually a beautiful thing to see. Okay,
That's right. Pick a
so
lane. Thank you, 420 Wild Dragon. Amen. You've got to pick a lane. And this is very reminiscent of
yeah,
Nazi Germany.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
just following orders.
Yeah.
This
Oh, I'm
is
just doing my job. Just doing my job. Yep.
this is going to wind up in medical tribunals. People have to think
Absolutely.
about
Where's your
this.
papers? Where's your papers?
This is
Yep.
serious. So, look at this slide. You see this mother, and in Africa, look at what is being done with our tax dollars, everyone. Look at
Mm,
this. The babies are being infected. And
mm.
look at this mama. Look at this. We have to pray. We have to pray. We have to pray because this is being done in our name. Now, I bring her up because I'm from Philadelphia, but you know, sometimes it takes a beautiful person to bring attention to something. And if anybody remembers Gia Karanji, I might be pronouncing her name wrong, but she was from Philadelphia. She was a top model who they had a movie about her, played by Angelina Jolie, and she wound up on intravenous drugs. Yes, you all know Gia. She was just known as Gia.
Yep.
Beautiful woman, but by the time her life ended, she was broken down to like she was hanging out in the heroin section, like Hell's Kitchen and the Alphabet area of New York City, and she was sleeping on dirty mattresses, shooting herself up. It was unbelievable what happened to this woman.
Unbelievable. Wow. I didn't know that.
Unbelievable.
But I remember her name.
Do you remember Gia, everyone? Yes. Now
I remember her name.
Yeah, I want to stop the screen and I want to share some articles, and I'll put the links to these articles, but I want to just bring a couple of articles to our attention because, you know, this is a very important conversation, okay? And I want to talk about, well, the first one. Let's talk about the first one here. Now, this is an article talking about Canada. So for you Canadian brothers and sisters, it's highlighting that HIV and disclosure. And this is very reminiscent of what we're dealing with, okay? So it talks about how the Supreme Court in Canada got it wrong. So it's saying that October 5th, the Supreme Court of Canada released its decisions in 2 cases dealing with the tricky issues of criminal liability for HIV non-disclosure. So the court ruled that people living with HIV have a legal duty to tell their partners about their HIV infection, okay? Except in narrow sets of circumstances where the risk that HIV would be transmitted approaches 0. Now, I want to talk about that because what do you think about that, sis? I mean, this gets into the privacy issues and the things that we're dealing with now, right? And
a total violation of the HIPAA laws, you know, but in the name of national security or, you know, the health of everyone around, you know, they're violating the very laws that they that was set forth. I think it's awful. And it's the same thing that we're seeing with this whole C-19 thing, right? They don't want to stop until the whole population has been diagnosed with a positive C-19 diagnosis, right? And everybody needs to know about it because it's for everyone else's safety. I think the jig is up. I think that all of these things are happening remotely. Like we literally have a president who is controlling the world through CGI. Okay. Like, I mean, has anyone thought to go ahead and take a look at these so-called you know, federal mandates that he revoked? It doesn't exist. Everything is still in place. Like, I think that the jig is up and we need to stop consenting and policing each other and asking, you know, what's your status on this or what's your status on that? The whole thing is just, it's awful. Like, it needs to stop. Like, when is it going to stop? I think it's just, and it starts with us because we're the ones that can stop it. Like, it's over.
Right. It's in our hands. It's in our hands, everybody, because we outnumber this group, this draconian group, I'll call them. I want to bring up something. This articles, and I will put the links, like I said, but this was something around the time when I was working on the AIDS unit. They talked about a young woman. Her name was Kimberly Burghallis. Does everybody remember her? Kimberly Burghallis, they said that supposedly she caught HIV from her dentist. Does everybody remember this story? It
That
was,
sounds familiar.
it put so much fear in people because now you see this woman who doesn't fit the narrative. She's a young woman, and I took care of a patient. I'll never forget her. She was also a young woman, and she was admitted, she was full blown age, she was just withering away, and I was so heartbroken because she and I were like very close in age, and I was just like, oh my God, you know, it really did a number on a lot of younger people. So what happened with her, like I said, she was 23. Yeah, we were around the same age. So she died, but she was the first person believed to have contracted AIDS from a healthcare professional, her dentist, Dr. David Acer. Now, this was so bizarre that this woman would catch HIV from her dentist. Like, whatever became of that story? Does anybody know? Please drop it. Let us know what became of this story. You remember her?
I never heard of that one.
You never heard of her? Well, Mary, you remember her, Mary? Yes. Kimberly Burghallis. Yes. So I just wanted to, like I said, I'm going to just hit you with a few more articles. And let's see, it was a couple more here. Let's see. Oh, one moment. Oh, it just talks about the different celebrities. So let's kind of go through this. Okay. So we know that supposedly, you know, these are celebrities that, you know, revealed. You have Rock Hudson, that rocked Hollywood, of course, because he was forced to hide his homosexuality, being that, you know, you can't be a leading actor, you know, love interest with, you know, that. So we have Charlie Sheen, who, remember, he went on that crazy rant about tiger blood.
Yeah.
I don't know what that all means. Like, if anybody can break that down, what in the heck was the tiger blood about? Because I'm sure it has a lot to do with what we're looking at today. So we have crazy ass Charlie Sheen, and, you know, he gave it to a lot of, you know, people because he deals with a lot of the sex workers. Then we have, wow, this is a tweet from Irvin Magic Johnson. He's wishing Charlie Sheen and his family the best. With the advancements in treatments and medicine, he can fight this disease and live a long life. Isn't that interesting? So then we have Robert Reed, remember, the father from the Brady Bunch. Then you have Rudolph Nureyev. Pardon me for mispronouncing that, Nureyev. He was the Russian ballet dancer. It says Anthony Perkins, remember, the voice of Thriller, Anthony Perkins. He was in the creepy movie about his mother being in the attic or whatever, right? Then we have you know, it's just, you know, this is CNN, so we can just give it whatever, you know. I think that was it. I thought I had a different article that dealt with a lot more of the various, I think, let me see.
The whole thing, while you look for that, the whole thing reminds me of like that old school movie, and I don't know why I just thought of this. They did many remakes on it, but in '75 they had a movie called Stepford Wives, right? Where they were creating. Okay, come on, let's go this way. Where they were creating the moms however they wanted to create them. It's like transhumanism. It's like post-human beings. They want it to be like what used to be. Can you see that only non-human entities can want humans to not exist by all of these different diseases, and you know, and they have lots and lots of time because they're utilizing all of the technology that we should have to stay here longer, right? But it makes me think of movies where transhumanism plays a part, right? In
Mm-hmm.
it, you
Mm-hmm.
have so many different avenues of transhumanism, and definitely the diseases, taking us out by diseases, is
Mm-hmm.
a way to create a post-human world, right? It
Yes.
used to be humans, but now we have the humans merged with the machines, the cyborgs. We have virtual reality, we have
Mm-hmm.
cybernetics, we have
Right.
because virtual reality is like a reality that you'd rather be in than this one, right? It's so bad here, let's just put on some Oculus glasses and go wherever we
Right.
want to go, right? And
That's
not
right.
comb my hair and not come outside. Like, so
Yes.
it's really a huge psychological thing when you think of it. Even though we're talking about AIDS, it really is
Mm-hmm.
a really big operation to
It is.
depopulate the world. And they have,
Mm-hmm.
for one that doesn't have this lifestyle, then we've got this one. And keep this in mind while sis is looking for these slides, or these last slides, is
Mm-hmm.
that you also will marry the diagnoses through your family, through your bloodline. So if your grandparents or their parents had things like breast cancer, you're more prone to accept those diagnoses because what? They run in your family. So, okay,
Your mic.
sorry about that. We have to rethink marrying
That's
these
okay.
diagnoses
Mhm.
that have been generational, like breast cancers and prostate cancers and all of these things, because your great grandparents had them and your parents had them because they chose to take them. So we
Mhm.
definitely have to think these ideas and not take on these diagnoses.
There you go.
Okay,
Amen.
very important.
Amen. That's so important. And okay, I think I found it was just a article. This is the last one actually that I wanted to share. I found it. It is regarding Freddie Mercury. For anybody who was a fan of Freddie Mercury, can you all see this? Okay. So it deals with Freddie Mercury didn't want to be a poster boy for AIDS, but he and other celebrities played a key role in its history. So that's pretty interesting. That Freddie Mercury would emerge as, even though he didn't want to be a poster boy for AIDS, he kind of was. So in the beginning of his diagnosis, he was age 45 when he died of the
Yeah,
complications of the pneumonia, because as people know, it wasn't the AIDS that killed the people, it was the other diseases.
that's right.
What is AIDS? AIDS is it's the demolishing of a person's immune system. So, he did benefit concerts, and he did a lot, with AIDS research, raising money. There's been a lot of money raised in AIDS research. And I actually know a lot of homosexual men that I knew from Atlanta that would take the experimental jabs or whatever to, like, they feel like they want to help. They were
Yeah.
really like, very sincere, but they would tell me
Hmm.
like they were signing up for a clinical trial and they were trying to find a jab for AIDS. So they were just, subjecting themselves to God knows what. I don't know where. I've lost contact with a lot of these people. This was it when I was in college, and then also it was even like in the 2000s, when they were doing a lot of this, like these trials for the jabs. But
Hmm. Hmm.
that's just, oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm on the right slide
And of
here.
course
Okay.
they lied, right? Everybody ran out and got that jab, and he said, "Oh, vax
Hmm.
or mask? Like, which one are you gonna do?" And everybody's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a vax." And then next thing you know, you gotta wear two masks after that. Don't you feel just so freaking idiotic? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Sad.
It has
It's
to
sad.
be just so horrible because people are trusting the information, they're trusting the science, and they're
Mm-hmm.
making these decisions on science that's faulty, and they're basically changing everything, DNA, everything. So here we are, Rock Hudson, right? So you have Rock Hudson, you have, let's see, we're just going over a little timeline. And Elizabeth Taylor, she did a lot for the AMFAR, which was the American Foundation for AIDS Research. So it brought out some really heavy hitters. Then you have Madonna, who was very, she gave, let's see, remember Keith Haring, the artist that died of AIDS? It was just so many people. If I listed them, it was just too many to list. Like, you could probably put people that you remember that had succumbed to this, but it was just a lot of people. You know, Arthur Ashe, this was very sad, you know, because it was very public. And that's the thing about this. They make these things so public. I mean, even Magic Johnson, you know, just very public, and just the shame and everything that went, you know, just really makes you think now, you know, about the things they're doing currently, you know. But the Arthur Ashe was just very, very huge, right? Then they started with the red ribbons. Okay, you can see here Jeremy Irons is he's credited with popularizing the wearing of a red ribbon. What do you think about that, sis? The whole red ribbon. Interesting.
That red ribbon, it seems like they would find a lot of those red ribbons when they would find these suicide victims, right? You know, they suicided themselves, or Hanks, the handkerchief, you know. That red ribbon is a sign that, you know, somebody was playing a part in that person's death. I know that we had a lot of red ribbons and red ties being found, you know, with these suicided people.
That's a good point, right? Good point. They did the red, the, you know, around the doorknob. You heard about the designer.
And it kind of goes hand in hand with this, with the fact that that pilot, because you talked about a downplaying, we're talking about medicine, and here you are with the red ribbon. So it just brought me into, remember that plane that went down with all of those holistic doctors on board?
Oh yeah, there you are. All the holistic
they
doctors.
said that the pilot had like a red ribbon in his mouth or something, or some type of red cloth or something, and they found it because, you know, they were like, wow, how odd is that? But of course they wanted to put that out there in the story so that, you know, everyone that was in the know could understand that, you know, maybe, you know, these people were talking, or this is the pilot that was, you know, piloting the talkers. Like, I don't know what the correlation was, but that red ribbon, that red tie is really off-putting. Yeah.
Very interesting. Oh, Jola, that's right. Do you remember the AIDS quilt that they did a lot of beautiful things that, you know, touched on your heartstrings, of course. But, you know, now we can, you know, reevaluate, like, you know, circle back and have a retrospective. But the AIDS quilt was something that I personally thought was really powerful. You know, they added to the quilt, and it was, you know, traveled all over the country and possibly the world. But that was something that, you know, the outpouring, you know, and you can't blame people. They want to try to, you know, do something for humanity. And this really, you know, it pulls on your heartstrings. And then, of course, we have Princess Diana, who was very visible, and she was also very humane with people. She did not, you know, feel like people shouldn't be touched, you know. Oh yeah, Chef Bourdain, yes, and the red ribbon, exactly. There's a lot going on with the whole red thing, yeah. So then you have, of course, you know, the big headlines. You have Magic. He's living with the AIDS virus, and science. There you are. Science is offering new hope. You see?
There it goes again, huh?
Hope. So that was the last article that I wanted to share, and I'll go back to the slides. As you know, my sis and I were gonna, you know, kind of round out some of this and see where you all are with, you know, how you feel. And, you know, this is a picture of the beautiful Gia. This is closer to the time that she succumbed to the singer Jermaine Stewart died. Oh, yeah. Remember him? Do you remember that guy? He said,
To
we
take our
don't have
clothes
to
off.
take our clothes
Wow. I didn't know that he passed away
off.
from that. No,
Yes, he
I
did.
did not know that.
And
That's
remember
interesting.
Leroy from Fame? Leroy
Wow.
from Fame? Yes, he died of this. I think Michael from Good Times. I mean, I could go on. Like I
Really?
said, we could.
Wow.
The list would be so long.
Right,
It is.
right.
It is unreal how many
Mm.
people have been taken out. And you know,
Absolutely.
we
And a lot
have,
of those, oh, I'm sorry.
oh no. Yeah, what were you saying, sis?
No. I was just gonna say a lot of those supermodels, they would go ahead and forcefully give them heroin and have them addicted to it. So then, after a while, you feel as if you just need it. Well, you do need it because you just can't quit those kind of drugs. If you quit those kind of drugs, you're liable to make your heart stop, or you really could suffer some serious health issues if you just stop using heroin. As you know, sis, being a nurse that you are, if you're addicted to heroin, you really have to wean yourself off with all sorts of methadones and suboxones and all type of other things.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's a shame
absolutely.
that she really probably was made to be addicted to those things.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like if you read the account of Gia, I had the book. I was really, intrigued with her life at the time because she was from Philly, and I also modeled, so it was tragic. I lived over in Milan, and I remember a lot of the models were on heroin. Like you could walk through a park and it was just syringes all over, and it was unreal how like much the heroin. Cocaine was like really regular, but also heroin.
Yeah, that was like the rich people drug, the cocaine, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, I'd go to a nightclub and you go to the bathroom. It was like the movies, Less Than Zero and all that stuff. And they'd have like on a silver platter, just like mounds of cocaine. And, it was like, wow, just absolutely unreal. But, you have Princess Di, and these are some of the images that I wanted to kind of end off on because, it's a lot going on with her energy in this, movement and everything, but she had a really sweet spirit.
Yes,
And
look at her. She's
she
sitting
did a
in
lot.
The bed. Never mind next to the
In the bed.
bed. She is sitting in the bed. That's something you and I would do, sis.
That's right.
We be
Absolutely.
move over. I'm getting in the bed with you, okay? Not on the bed.
Hey, look, Mitch King is saying, "Girl code, call me."
Yes, I will, Mitch. I will call you. That's something I started talking about, but I'll end after sis is done with the slides. I'll tell you and share with you how you can call me or I can call you and we can spend some time on the phone with each other. We'll talk about that here in a minute, okay?
Amen. Love it, love it, love it. So, more of the sweetness. I mean, I just love this woman. I felt like, I just felt her spirit when, back in these days when she was in the news cycles, and just the humanity, the sweetness, the pure heart, And this is a quote from Princess Diana. I still call her that. HIV does not make people dangerous to know. So you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it. And, I just wanted to end on that because we have forgotten, a lot of us, what it's like to be human. Look at what Girl Code just experienced. Like she goes to the park and everybody flees. And this is horrible. Like when I go out in public, I hug people. I remind them of their humanity, and I want to feel.
They had the little 1-year-olds muffled up with the mask. They had like everyone had masks. They had, they had the lady with the thing wrapped around her head. You could tell she had cancer, right? Or was, in remission. She had like the no hair on her eyebrows, things like that. But she had like the two medical masks, and it was just like, oh my goodness, here comes these two melanated people. Surely they've got to have COVID because they say that COVID runs in the melanated community rapidly, and what are they doing in this community? Because keep in mind, you guys, I live here in Massachusetts and there are melanated people here, but I live in what would be considered to be a more ritzier area. You know what I mean? It's almost like one of those areas. It's like, what are you doing here? Or who are you visiting? That's the type of neighborhood that I live in, and when they see me, it's just like, I don't mind at all because I'm used to them. They may not be used to me, but that's just what we need. A community of people who don't understand each other, and then throw C-19 in the mix, and then it just makes it a triple threat, right?
Man,
These
that's
people,
right.
I tell
That's
you.
right. Yeah. Well, this is a time when like we have to fight for our humanity. Now, I want to tell a story because we're talking about this, and I recall, and I shared this in another like live or whatever, when I worked on the unofficial age unit. And I was a new nurse, and when you go into nursing, you think, I'm going to save the world. I'm Florence Nightingale. You're like, I am the nurse. I'm going out to the world. Okay, so you are that. Whatever. I was inspired by Julia. I watched the Julia show, but after taking care of my grandmother who was injured by the jabs, and just learning about illness and how to care for her, I used to dress her wounds because she had a lot of wounds on her legs and things. So I would go and I would fetch her medicine. I mean, she was a woman who used to have perfume on her vanity, but now she has amber bottles of pharmaceuticals, and she was on tons of them. Okay, so instead of perfume, can you imagine where other women have perfume? She's got nothing but amber bottles, and you've probably seen this in your own experience, right? So I used to know how to go get my Darvon. Okay, I'm like a little kid knowing how to go and read Darvon. Okay, let me go get. She told me how many to take out. I knew how to, even though it's childproof, I knew how to open them up and get the pills for her, and take care of her. And that's, why I became a nurse. I was called to this. And, I had in my lineage, medicine women, I had my grandmother was the one that birthed all the babies. She was the doula of the community in Americus, Georgia. She birthed everybody, white, black, red, purple, anybody. She birthed them. So when I was a young nurse and I was on the age unit, I'll never forget certain patients. And this, they will never leave your spirit when you engage with them. Okay. And there was a man, young man, like I said, they come in on a Monday. By the time Friday hit, they were at death's door. And then they were putting the morphine drips, in place. So this was the end of his life. Okay, so he asked me. Now listen to this. We worked 8-hour shifts. It wasn't always the 12 hours. We worked 8. So I did an evening, 3 to 11 shift, and by the time 11 o'clock, he was going through the phases of death. And I won't get into all the details because I know it hurts, to hear all these details. But, the breathing and everything changes, and you're titrating the morphine. So I was about to clock out, but we had such a rapport. And you know what he told me, sis, and everybody? He knew I was leaving, okay? And he said, Jennifer, now he knew the new nurse that was coming on wasn't, I don't know, you get to know the other nurses, and I guess he didn't know her, whatever. And what he asked me, he said, Jennifer, will you stay with me? Because I don't know how to die. And I can't even explain, like I could cry because I hear him every now and then. I go back in time to that moment. And I could not put my clocking out, going home in front of somebody asking you that. Somebody asking you to be with them because he said, I don't know how to die. What are you going to say? So I clocked out because I did not want anybody to accuse me of riding the clock. So I clocked out and I told the nurse that was coming on, I said, listen, I'm going to stay with him until he passes away. And I'll do all the cleaning. You don't even have to take care of him. I'll just be here and I'll do a one-on-one care with him. And she looked at me like, you're crazy, of course. And I didn't care. So I was with him. I sponged him off. He was just, you know, the diaphoresis, like it was just, he was dripping. The bed sheets were just drenched in sweat. And I was changing his linens constantly, keeping him dry, his gown, you know, putting, you know, compresses and cooling him off and singing and praying over him and just holding him, hugging him. I might have even gotten in the bed and laid down next to him. I don't know. I remember this in parts, you know, but I stayed with him until he passed. And sometimes the people pass at that hour. You know, it's like the 3 a.m. hour, the 4 a.m. hour. They die in those hours, okay? And he finally passed away. It might have been like 4 o'clock or so. And, you know, I did his postmortem care because that's always been something that's sacred to me, is to care for that body, okay? Some nurses, they're so fast to just put a person in a body bag and take them down to the morgue. I never wanted to rush the process of dying. So I clean my people. I take all the IVs and everything off of them. I comb their hair. I give them a bath, basically, put on clean linens and everything is clean. I clean up the room. I tidy everything up. And I do this fast. You know, after you've been a nurse many years, you can do everything really fast. And then I just set up the room in case family's going to come. But of course, with the AIDS patients back then, their family abandoned them, okay? I want you all to know this is what happened to people. Their families abandoned them. So you were the only family they had. So once he passed and I did the postmortem care and I said goodbye, I kissed him and, I left. You know, you deal with this. So I left and went home. And of course, I probably couldn't even sleep and I had to go back to work the next day. So when I got back to work, I was called into the manager's office because I was in trouble, everybody. I was in trouble. Okay. So I got a dressing down from my manager. And what she was upset about is like, why did you stay after your shift was over? And, I explained to her that the patient told me that he didn't know how to die. And he asked me to be with him. Do you know she did not care? She was one of those managers that never worked the floor. She went straight from nursing school right into management. Like, I just can't explain. She told me that if I continued down this road, I was going to burn myself out. And, I get it. She was, looking out for me, but it wasn't that this would happen every time. You're not going to do this with everybody. It's just certain people, you're going to go into a different type of human contact and calling and whatever it is, personal. And I want a new nurse or anybody out here who hears my voice right now and you are in healthcare, do not let anybody make you feel that you are doing something wrong when you are extending that human compassion that people need right now. If you have to get in trouble for staying with somebody and helping them through the passing into death, then get in trouble. okay? Because that's why you were called to this profession, okay? So we have got to get back to our humanity and back to the human touch, and go and hug these people when you're out in public. If you feel led, do it. They won't fight you. It'll just disrupt the conditioning. But be disruptive right now. Be disruptive with your love and your humanity, please. We need it. We need it here. So I don't know where Girl Code is. I was hoping she would get back on, because I'm sure she has some wonderful things to share with us. Now, I'm going to take this video down, but I want you to please go to our alt media. I'm going to send the link to Girl Code, so she will put it on her alt media platforms. Please share this, okay? We need our engagement so that we can keep this algorithm from burying our voice. So I'm going to ask you for this to help us. Like, subscribe, share. This is our sister Girl Code's. If you need to find her, this is Girl Code's YouTube, her email, her PayPal. If you feel led, this is how you can engage with our sister Girl Code, okay? And if you want to engage with me on alt tech, this is my Instagram is Jenny the John. I try to create content that you can share it. And, I encourage you. I'm not somebody who gets all bent out of shape if you share content, please. That is why I create it, with the intention that it can be shared. Please share it. Okay. And I'm on Rumble. I try to keep my name the same across the platforms on Twitch, Bitchute, and Telegram. So I'm engaging. My sister and I are now engaging on Telegram. You can find Girl Code. She's under Girl Code on Telegram. Oh, here she is. You're back, sis. Yay. Okay, so our sister is back. Sis, do you have anything you want to end this live stream? Please share. She's getting, it's happening. She's almost here, everybody. But we're going to be patient. I want her to give you some words of benediction. I love you all. Thank you for watching this. To me, I feel this is a special live stream with the family. I thank you all for being patient. This is 2 hours, but
Yeah.
Oh, there you are, Girl Code. Please,
Can you guys hear me?
we can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, good. You probably can't see me because.
Oh no, she dropped off. Oh, we're having quite a time here. Oh, well, listen, I want you all to know that we both love you all, and we're going to come to you with more content. We're working on our websites and things like that. So we're doing just some reallocating and shifting around. So I love you too, Shari. Thank you. Love, love, love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Oh, you guys, thank you. Love you all. 420. Oh, love, love, love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, love and light. Love and light. Mitch, love you. Hey, oh, Rosie Pie. Hi, sis. Beautiful Rosie Pie. You all remember our Rosie Pie. She's been a day oneer. Thank you, Rosie Pie. Hey, Lee. Hi there. Love you too. Love you all. Let me tell you, this is true love. We got our Tracy Wu here from Hong Kong. How's it going over in Hong Kong? Love you, Tracy Wu. Hey, Lee. Good point, H2O. Big hugs, big hugs. Thank you. Thank you, Empress Vibes. Amen. So listen, not to keep you too much longer. I don't know, with the technology, we're having issues with our beautiful sister Girl Code, but let us continue to be unified in love. Where we go one, we go all. And hey, Jenny, Okie girl, that's another day one. Thank you, sis. Love you all. Shari, MJ, Michelle. Oh, Andrew Farnsworth. God bless you. Bird on a tree. Love you. Bless you all. And if I've missed your comments, it is not on purpose. If you're joining on Facebook, thank you for being with us today for this rather hard topic, but I hope that we end it on a note that you're encouraged to know that we win. God wins. The real madre, that's right. Where we go one, we go all. So I just want to let you know, oh, wow, look at that. Tam is here. Oh, you're at work? Good. So I will love you too, Juan. Love you too. Hey, please don't forget about our seniors, and they are being abused, neglected, and harmed. Amen. Thank you, Lionel, for reminding us. And if you have elderly people in your neighborhood, please take care of them right now. Please make sure they're okay. Some people don't have family that look in on them, as you know. So I just want you to know that we are going to care for everyone, all of the voiceless. We're going to find a way to become more grassroots, local, okay? And take care of each other. I know you will, and I love you, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.